This morning on The Dish, Chef Tim Cushman, a native of Boston. His first training wasn't in food, but in jazz and classical guitar at the city's renowned Berklee College of Music. While pursuing his musical dreams in California, he worked in restaurants and discovered a whole new passion.
He spent the next 3 decades cooking around the world, including Japan. And it's there he found his culinary heart. His Oya in Boston has been recognized as one of the top sushi restaurants in the nation, earning him a James Beard Award as best chef in the Northeast. Since then, he's opened the Hojoko Japanese Tavern in Boston and a branch of Oya and the California cuisine-inspired Covina here in New York. Chef Tim Cushman, welcome to The Dish.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about this great table.
Okay, starting over here, we have the grilled salmon hand roll sushi. Following that, we have wood-grilled shrimp over heirloom polenta. The next dish is some hummus with seasonal vegetables. In the middle here, we have our Wagyu burgers with our special dashi pickle special sauce. And for dessert, we always like to have pizza. So we have,
this is my kind of meal if we're having pizza for dessert.
So over here, we have a pizza margherita and a mushroom and pepperoni pizza here to the left.
And a fantastic beer that we're drinking.
Yes,
as well.
And the beers we're drinking, they're 2 of my favorite New England beers. One is Cheers.
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 You've actually mixed the 2 beers.
Yes, one is Mo, which is a Maine beer company, and that's from Maine. And the other one is Aeronaut Brewing, Hoppin' Away. They're both IPAs, but I actually mix them 50-50. I drink them individually also.
Hoppin' Away, I like that.
You have an eclectic background in reading about you. You grew up, you were like captain of every sports team. Then you suddenly get into music, and I mentioned you're at a renowned music school, and you end up cooking. How does all of that end up happening?
So I was playing sports in high school, but I loved music. And then in the 70s, I got into bands and got involved in music. Went to Berklee and graduated in 1980 and moved out to California for the music industry.
You were out in LA trying to become Jimi Hendrix, basically.
I did want to go on tour. I needed to get a job. I had a choice of either getting a job in a restaurant or at a ski store, which I wanted to get, but I didn't have a car, so I had to choose the restaurant.
Lucky us.
Where did the Japanese thing come from?
In around 1983, 84, I worked with a Japanese chef named Roy Yamaguchi. And I became one of his sous chefs, and I was with him for about a year or 2. Mm-hmm. But that was a very eclectic mix. He was born in Japan. Mm-hmm. He lived in California, and he was French trained. So that whole combination fit right into the California food style, and that really became the foundation of how I cooked, along with him and another chef, Michael Roberts. But also, my first trip to Japan, 1987. Was incredible experience, and been back several times since then, but that was a very eye-opening experience.
I think we described it as your culinary heart. Where did the idea for Oya in Boston come from?
The first incarnation of it started at a restaurant in Chicago when I was living in Chicago. It was a modern Mexican restaurant called Hat Dance, which I opened with Let Us Entertain You, Richard Millman. This was around 1989, and had a raw bar idea that I wanted to implement into the restaurant. And so I combined Japanese, Korean, and Mexican raw. So Mexican does cocktails and ceviches. I did a Korean steak tartare, and I was doing creative sashimis. So I was kind of fusing some of the flavors at the same time.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's like legendary now. But from what I understand, like in the first year, you were like 2 weeks away from not making payroll.
Yes, I actually had to borrow money from my friend Jim to make payroll one time, because we were essentially 2 weeks away from closing. We almost never opened because there were no liquor licenses available, and we had to wait 6 months to open to finally get a liquor license. But the first year, it was we actually had the bank was coming and starting to ask questions, and we had my wife Nancy was great at making charts, so she showed him a chart that we're actually continuing to grow.
Nancy, who was here today.
Yeah, Nancy, yes. So we were able to convince the bank to hang on for a little bit, and then we.
But then what really changed for you?
2 things happened within 1 month. Frank Bruni, who is the food critic for the New York Times, picked us as the best new restaurant in the country.
In the whole country?
In the whole country. And Food and Wine magazine picked me as one of the best new chefs. So bingo, overnight, we've been on a wait ever since. And that was like to the year that we had opened, and we just like knock on wood, have been open for 10 years now.
How do you thank someone for that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can't. I mean, that's we constantly. Nancy has actually told Frank Bruni many times, if we have a child, we'll name him after
Frank or Bruni.
Yeah,
Either
Frank
way will
or
work.
Bruni. Yeah.
Well, because it is the dish, Tim, we want you to sign, and I'll ask you as you do. If you could have a meal with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
A couple people. One, my wife Nancy, Jimi Hendrix, and also the Beatles. But I have met Ringo Starr, but I want to meet Paul. So I would.
Can I come to that dinner too?
You're totally invited.
Thank you.
Sounds like a great dinner, and it'll be great entertainment as well. Right. Chef Tim Cushman, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And for more on Tim Cushman and the dish, you can head to our website at cbsthismorning.com.